All right, welcome to the WrestleCord podcast. It is April 22nd, 2026, and it is 10:18 p.m. here on the East Coast, so Dynamite just left the airwaves, and boy, what a show we had tonight in Portland, Oregon from the Veteran Memorial Coliseum. Cordial, what did you think of tonight's show?
It was good. There was lots of fast-paced action. A lot of great matches.
Yeah, I would say a lot of great matches. We had a smaller than usual card, I would say, for Dynamite, but every match on the card was very good. I, some of them were, I dare say, great. I absolutely loved the Mark Davis Will Ospreay match, and we'll get more into that as we go through the show tonight. I thought it was interesting. We had once again Nigel McGuinness on commentary for Dynamite, usually relegated to Collision, but here, once again becoming a more regular fixture for Dynamite, which I absolutely love. We had the team of Excalibur, Nigel McGuinness, Tony Schiavone on commentary, and the show started out with a quick title win recap of what happened last week with Darby Allin winning the title from the world title from MJF. I thought it was a nice little recap. And then we went right into the show with MJF's music starting. We had heard that we were probably going to hear from MJF tonight. Also heard that we're going to hear from Darby Allin later on in the night, which also did happen. And like I said, we had MJF's music starting up. MJF's coming out demanding that they cut the music. The crowd immediately starts booing. He's screaming at him, "You want to boo the champ?" He talks about Darby being a paper champion. He demands that the crowd show him some respect. He says that what happened last week was going to go down in history as the Seattle Screwjob, which he has been echoing on Twitter as of this week. X, whatever. I'm going to keep calling it Twitter. I think it sounds better.
Agreed.
He said that the match was completely unfair. He had beat Omega, and then 3 days later, that skank Aubrey helped Darby Allin beat him. And he claimed that he was, as he often does, the best wrestler in the world. Doesn't care about Darby's match against the Psycho Killer, mockingly saying the Psycho Killer's name. He said that Darby needs to come out and give him his title match now. And we did not get Darby coming out. Instead, we got Kevin Knight. The newly crowned, as of a little over a week ago, TNT champion. Kevin came out and talked about MJF coming out and acting like a little bitch.
Yep. And then we get little bitch chants from the crowd, which was pretty funny.
Jet said that he had just landed. The jet had just landed. Of course, if you haven't been watching a lot, folks, lately, the jet. Kevin Knight has been referring to himself in the third person.
So weird.
Yeah, not to my liking.
Definitely not my favorite.
No, it very much reminds me of that episode of Seinfeld. He said things are about to get real. The jet is here. The jet is to fly. He says he looked clean with the TNT title belt around his waist. He says if MJF was a fighting champ, he'd put it on the line. He said, the Jet said, like a fighting champ, he will put the title on the line anytime. And then MJF took the mic, says he sort of starts ripping in on the Jet here, saying some quick line about how Jet thinks it's socially acceptable to be friends with Mike Bailey. Yeah. Which is, I'm not quite sure what he's hinting at there.
I'm not either.
I was unaware that Mike Bailey was such a socially inappropriate person.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Then he would talk about how he had just beat Kevin Knight a few weeks ago with the Heat Seeker for what he said was an easy dub. He said that Kevin Knight will never be the champ, and that Kevin Knight should know better than to step in MJF's ring and to have the nerve to talk about being world champion. Jet got on the mic, says he's an absolute gold mine. And MJF has never won the TNT title, which I thought was an interesting thing to say, considering the man has been international, or as he called it, America's champion.
Yeah.
And also the world champion twice. So
And I actually want to go back for a second. Right before Knight got on the mic, MJF was kind of razzing on him about the title and said, "What a cute little title that is. It fits you like a glove." And I think it's important for what we're going to go
I think
over in
it
a
does
little
fit him
bit.
like a glove. To
It
be
does.
completely, I
It
think the
does.
belt looks great on
Yeah.
Kevin Knight.
I
I
love
don't
that.
know if that's who I would pick to be my TNT champion when you have a guy like John Moxley as your Continental.
Mm-hmm.
But you know,
Is the Continental title considered a mid card title? Or?
I think all three of those titles, the International, the Continental, and the TNT, are the mid-tier titles.
Is one more prestigious than the other?
Well, see, in my mind, I would go with Legacy.
Okay.
So the TNT title is the oldest mid-card title.
Right.
We had in the first year of AEW, we had the world title, we had the world tag team titles, we had the women's title.
Okay.
That's right, folks. Believe it or not, this company started out with only 3 championship belts.
God, now how many
Boy,
do
did
they
things
have?
change. Then the TNT title was introduced with the help of Cody Rhodes. And then we eventually had the TBS title when they moved with their secondary shows, which then became the women's-centric version of the TNT title, essentially. Which, I mean, I was definitely... When this happened, I wasn't on board for simply because there was still no women's tag championship. And quite frankly, when they introduced the TNT championship, I didn't like it. I would have liked it had they had a television championship, because at least that would have made more sense when you have pay-per-view, which is on television, and when you have TBS and TNT being the hosts of the show. Of course, when the TNT title was introduced, the only channel host of AEW was TNT.
Oh, okay.
With the exception of the pay-per-views, and that's where I think it fell flat in my brain.
Gotcha.
That you have it on the pay-per-views when it's called the TNT title, and obviously the pay-per-views aren't on TNT.
TNT, right.
Back in, WCW and ECW companies that had the television titles, that title was always defended on television, which was part of the whole idea of what the title was. And usually done with time limits, which also don't really exist in the TNT title picture. I knew there was like the 6:05 time limit. I'm sorry, folks, if you hear any interruption in the back. My very dense cat has decided to claw at the glass sliding door, despite the door being open, and he is able to get to his own cat door, which he can easily walk in and out of. He literally, less than 10 minutes ago, walked back in through the same door and now decided that he wanted to demand that he has an easier access to the outside. So I'm very sorry if that is coming through on the mic here, folks, as he claws at the glass of the sliding door. So back to, I think let's regain focus here on this card. All right. I'm sorry about that again, folks. I had to do some verbal discipline.
So we had Knight then go back on the mic. You were talking about him.
Yes, he talks about he's an absolute gold mine. Talks about how MJF has never won the TNT title, which again I had said that seems to be less of a thing considering MJF has been a world champion,
right?
And of course, Kevin Knight has not. And Kevin Knight, in fact, was beaten as a challenger for the world title not long ago. So, MJF says, actually, the look of that title, it's kind of growing on me. He says, I can tell how proud you are of that title, and I'm going to make you, I think he said, depressed about the title.
Oh, yes. Because, like, right now he's on a high. There was a different word he used, but basically, like...
No, he said he was proud of the title, and that he was going to make him depressed about the title. And, so essentially this is leading up. We're going to get this challenge here. MJF challenging Jet Knight for the TNT title right here tonight. Bryce Rensburg takes the title belt, holds it up to the crowd, and MJF immediately bows from the ring.
Of course he does.
Starts walking up the ramp with the mic and says, nope. And I will face you for the title next week on Dynamite, which is crazy because, I mean, Jet could kind of, I guess at this point, bow out of that match.
But why would he?
I mean, he's got a week now to think about it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. But I just thought that was kind of weird that MJF would leave that opportunity in limbo. Of course, being that smarmy, cowardly heel,
Yeah.
he definitely wasn't gonna go out of his comfort zone tonight on Dynamite. What did you think of this segment opening up our show?
If I'm being 100% honest, I don't like shows that open up with segments like this. I find it doesn't draw me into the show personally. But the segment itself I thought was good. I like the back and forth between them. I thought they had some really good quips. And honestly, I always like when MJF gets on the mic. He always tends to say some like really good stuff.
Yeah, he's a
really
show stealer.
He definitely is.
He definitely is. And I mean, I tend to agree with you in general, and you've expressed this opinion before about rather you preferring to have a show open up with action.
Yes.
And
I'm okay with like if it's a segment that's only like a couple minutes or like maybe 5 minutes, but these like 15-minute, 20-minute segments when you're
is that
first
how long
starting the
this
show,
went?
it was I looked at the time and it was I think 8:16, so it was like right around 15, 16 minutes.
I have to just step in here and say that for the length of that, it did not to me feel that long.
It didn't feel that long. No,
it was.
not at all.
So that's
That's
at least
good.
a plus for
Yeah.
the opening of the show. And like I said, in general, I do agree. I prefer to start out with some quick, fast, usually a shorter match. AEW does have a tendency of starting out with longer matches sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes we get, world title matches starting out the show. I know that last time, I think we were in Washington live to see AEW. Well, not the last time. No, it was the last time.
Yeah,
yes.
we did Baltimore
The
first.
last time, yeah. The last time we were down at AEW, and this was 2020.
It was May of 2025.
No, this must have been.
Because we did.
No,
Dynasty
what I'm
in
talking
April.
about now must have been 2023.
Oh, okay.
And it was MJF going to the time limit draw with Adam Cole opening up our show.
Oh, yeah.
And so we're going back here, folks.
Yeah.
As our history with AEW does. As my history with wrestling itself does. I know yours is a bit more stunted, cordial,
Yes.
but mine goes way back. And so AEW does have a history of starting off with longer matches. I usually prefer a nice, quick bout just to sort of
Draw you in.
water everyone's mouth, get them ready for the rest of the
That's
show.
a good way to put it.
Nice and quick and not too much. But, AEW kind of throws a wrench in there sometimes. And honestly, I think this was actually a good opener for the show, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty funny.
Yeah.
MJF demanding this title bout. It definitely seemed like he wanted it right then and there.
Yeah.
And then bailing out of the ring and saying he'll see the Jet next week.
Yeah.
So, of course, that's what we're going to see next week on Dynamite for the TNT Championship. MJF versus Kevin Knight. We would also get the announcement of another title match on next week's Dynamite. And we'll talk about that later on in our podcast here.
So who do you think's coming home with the title?
This is interesting. I think MJF might be taking the title.
Really?
And then I think he's going to still go after the world title to try to become a dual champion. I think it would be...
Okay.
I love Kevin Knight, and I do see a way that they could sort of work themselves out of this match. Give Kevin Knight maybe a count-out victory or a DQ victory.
Okay.
Over MJF, or MJF the same. Maybe MJF getting a count-out victory over a Kevin Knight. Or dare I say a DQ victory. Maybe we have Mike Bailey come down because he's like worried about Kevin Knight. Something happens, he ends up getting upset, gets involved, and MJF gets a DQ win there.
Okay.
So this has been done before in wrestling. I'm actually just in the midst of reading Bob Backlund's biography, which I suggest if you're an old school wrestling fan, it's quite good. I think the writer did a good job. Is it the most entertaining read? No. Is it very concise and fun? If you're a historian of wrestling, you very much will like it. But he talks about how he once won a DQ over Harley Race because Harley Race swiped at his manager, Arnold Skolin, who ended up feeling a need to retaliate, which sort of makes sense. And Bob Backlund stresses in the book that as a face, it was very hard for him to sort of lose by DQ, but they figured out a way there that made it seem to make sense to the fans and not make him seem like a weak champion.
So how long ago was that?
We're not going to talk about that.
I'm not sure what era that is.
1, 2, 3, 4 decades ago.
Okay.
Now, yeah.
So the 80s.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're talking.
That's what I'm asking.
Bob Backlund was champion from the late
I know the name,
70s
but I don't know.
to the mid 80s.
Okay.
Where he would lose his belt to the Iron Sheik, who would almost immediately, just a few months later, weeks, lose it to Hulk Hogan, which would then begin the whole Hulkamania craze in the WWF.
Okay.
And really start that skyrocket for WWF to becoming the big, giant, multi-billion-dollar
wrestling
company that ended up getting sold to TKO and now is becoming the bane of everyone's existence. So, and if you haven't checked out, folks, by the way, I'll throw a quick plug in here. I'm doing a new segment on YouTube, which is WrestleCord News Breaks, and we've done 3 of them so far. We just started this Monday, and I'm going to try to catch you all up every single day with some quick news-worthy notes on the wrestling world. In a quick, we're trying to keep these segments down to 15 minutes or less. So hopefully you folks are checking us out on YouTube at /WrestleCord, and I think you will like some of that content. Please, I am very grateful for any criticism anyone has. Don't be afraid to be mean. I quite frankly don't care. I'm very wrestling about this. Please bring it on. Because I'm sure it needs some work. Like, I think this podcast has needed some work, and it has grown over time. And I'm just going off on a tangent. Let's get back to Dynamite tonight. So, up next, we go to the back with Renee, who is with the Demand. Mm-hmm. And we would then soon see Jericho is also off to the side.
Yep.
So, it's been established, which I didn't know this has been established, but it's seen by the point of this interview starting that it's been established that Jericho with some partners is going to take on the Demand this Saturday on Collision.
I was not aware of that either.
Yeah. So Jericho's doing his normal quips here, calling Ricochet Ball, calling the other two ugly and dumb. And so they're basically digging at Jericho, asking him who he's gonna partner with. He's not really giving much info on that.
Well, and Bishop actually comes in and says, well, he has no friends here.
Yep. And Jericho goes into this whole thing about how he's trademarked the phrase about how Chris Jericho is the guy that the Demand is going to beat up every week he shows up, or something along
like
those lines.
Yeah.
I don't want to get a trademark violation anyway. But and then he unzips his jacket to reveal his shirt that has this on it.
Yes, which does not make Ricochet very happy.
No. Ricochet says that he's going to beat Jericho once again with a Rico Salt. So smarmy the way he says this too. He is doing such great heel work here. He also says he's going to steal Jericho's dignity. And that's pretty much where we leave that. And we will find out later tonight, spoiler folks, who Jericho's partners will be. I won't let that cat out of the bag quite yet. So up next, we have one of our new favorites.
Yes.
One of the most entertaining men now in AEW.
Yes.
I didn't realize that he has just recently been christened the Blackheart, Leo Rush.
Okay.
The last Blackheart I knew was Owen Hart.
Okay.
Who, that name was coined after Brett, after the Montreal Screwjob.
Okay.
And we talked earlier about the Seattle Screwjob.
Uh-huh.
So after the Montreal Screwjob, if you're a wrestling fan, you know, November 1997 Survivor Series, Shawn Michaels put the sharpshooter on Bret Hart. Bret Hart was supposed to be able to reverse it, and then there was going to be a DQ as DX jumped the ring. But instead, the referee, Earl Hebner, called for the bell while Bret Hart was in the sharpshooter. And we got the Montreal Screwjob. This, after Bret had already signed with WCW, that was going to be his last night in the company. What ended up happening after this is British Bulldog, Jim Neidhart would both end up leaving the company. British Bulldog pretty much immediately. Jim Neidhart was around for a little bit longer before he left, just a few weeks. And the only man left was Owen Hart, who then dubbed himself the Black Heart, and seemed like he was going to feud in the main event with Shawn Michaels, but it seems like Shawn Michaels, the cocky piece of shit that he is. And I have a strong opinion about Shawn Michaels that we'll get through as the years of this podcast goes on. Put the kibosh on that. But that's the last Black Heart I know. But now we have a new one.
Yeah.
And Lio Rush in his super goofy gimmick here. And crazed eyes, saying all kinds of weird shit. And he's going to go up against a guy that knows how to serve out a beating. And boy, did he here in Brody King.
Yes. Such a size difference, too. It's crazy. Whenever Rush comes to the ring, he always acts super crazy. He started off the match by playing a bunch of mind games with Brody, by slowly walking around him, just being super weird, like he's been doing with this gimmick. He puts his hand out to, I guess, have a handshake from Brody. Brody actually takes it, but then doesn't let go, which I thought was pretty funny. And then Lio, this startles Lio. I think he was expecting him to let go. So Lio ends up biting him. And then we move into some Lio trying to chop Brody King, which is funny. So if you've seen these two wrestlers, I mean, Brody's huge. Like, he is a tall dude. He's big. He's beefy. Lio, not so much. He has a much shorter stature. So I think I was kind of like thinking that this was going to be a pretty, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not sure. Disparaging matchup, maybe? No, I don't think that's really the right word. But basically just, it's a very, very big discrepancy between their two sizes. So when Lio goes to chop Brody,
you're trying to say you thought this was going to be very one-sided in Brody's favor?
Yes, that's a good. Okay. Yeah, that's a good way to say it.
Yeah, and I liked how in the very beginning of this, right after the bell rings, Lio Rush is sitting in the corner like he had done previously in his match with Pac on I think that was actually last week's Collision.
I think so,
which was Thursday. And Brody was having none of it. Came over and actually dragged Lio out of the corner, and then Lio, like you said, walking around trying to get that handshake, acting very Gollum-esque, as we spoke about before.
Yes. So Lio tries to chop Brody King, and he barely moves. Literally, it looked like it did nothing. But then Brody turns around and chops him so hard. Oh my God, it was so hard.
And we're actually already on the outside now, as the time this is happening. They've already spilled to the outside. Brody is just chopping chopping Lio Rush all over ringside. And there'd be a lot of in the ring, out of the ring, up and down, up and down.
Brody was really dominating this match, though, offensively. He just, really didn't give Lio a lot of chance to get any kind of offense going.
As we started to come towards the end of this match, we'd have Brody King on the apron with Lio Rush. He'd go for that Gonzo bomb. It looked like he was actually going to do the Gonzo bomb from the apron to the floor, which is crazy. Lio is able to get out of this. He lands in the ring, runs across the ropes, ends up he sort of shoves Brody off, then runs the ropes, does a big, they called it a tope. It was actually more I'm sorry. He actually did his he shoves Brody. Let me try one more time, folks. He shoves Brody off here, does that weird gallop around the ring that he likes to do. And they called it a tope through the ropes, so it's more like a suicida he does through the ropes.
Oh, okay.
Taking out Brody on the outside. Brody would end up working his way back into the ring.
Well, and I want to say, too, that whenever he knocked Brody to the floor, Brody actually laid there for, like, a good while and was holding his shoulder. which then
Maybe
affected
hit a little
him.
hard and he meant.
Yeah, so I think like he definitely kind of knocked him around a little bit, and that affects his ability then through the rest of the match. He's constantly like holding his shoulder.
Yeah. But Brody will eventually and make it back into the ring, where Lio Rush at this point is already made it to the top rope. Does a frog splash to the back of Brody.
That's actually one of the hardest ones I've ever seen.
Yeah, and
that was crazy.
He would go for the pin here, but only get a 1 count. Mm-hmm. And Brody would immediately go back on offense. He would throw Leo into the corner, hit him with that big cannonball splash in the corner, and then the Gonzo Bomb for the win. So a nice win and a bad night for Lio Rush. That's 2 losses in a row now so far. I think that might actually be his 3rd loss in a row. So,
but it was a fun match.
Got a fun new gimmick, but it's not quite working well in the way of getting victories here for him. Up next, we'd head to the back with Tomasso Ciampa and getting interviewed by Renee Young. So this was interesting. We had Tomasso Ciampa sitting in a folding chair, just sort of staring down pretty much the entire interview.
I kind of took that as, like, initially when I saw him, I took that as he looked kind of dejected.
Yeah, he did. He did look quite dejected. This was, I guess he was hyper-focused. I'm not exactly sure what he was going for, but I did like this interview. Renee starts out asking him if he's ready for his match tonight against Darby Allin for the world title. He says that he talks about how he's fought for championships before, how he's
been told his whole life that he's not enough.
Yes. And how this story tonight isn't about villains or heroes, it's about passion, it's about the title. And then he ends it pretty much saying that he is ready, and then he asks Renee to go ask Darby if he wants this more than Tomasso needs it. Mm-hmm. So from there, we'd also go to a backstage segment. No Renee this time. Nope. And we have Mr. Adam Edge Copeland here. Yes, I said it, folks. Not that anyone cares. He says that he talks about
he's talking
FTR,
to FTR, yeah.
And he talks about how he says that I think we, referring to him and Christian, we do not have Christian here. He says I think we deserve another title shot. He says he has an idea I don't think you can refuse. He says that you think you're the best, but you are only one of the best. He says at Double or Nothing, I want a New York street fight. Mm-hmm. If you beat us, we retire as a team.
That was interesting.
So, not retired individuals, but I guess retire the partnership.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's interesting because based on what Cope has recently said in interviews, it seems that he is looking very much to the future with teaming up with Christian and dealing more in that tag team division. So there's a lot of tag teams that they would like to fight. So it seems unlikely that they're necessarily going to be retired as a team, but I do think it's interesting to use that verbiage because it definitely leaves the door open for neither man to be kicked out of the company,
right?
But for FTR to still win. So, and if you want my prediction of what's going to happen at Double or Nothing, obviously this match hasn't, quote unquote, been accepted.
Right.
Clearly, this is where we're headed, folks. I think Edge and Christian are Cope and Cage are taking the titles. Okay. So, which I think a lot of people thought that was going to happen at the last pay-per-view. Mm-hmm. Dynasty, that's where we just came from, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep, Double or Nothing's next.
All right. So up next we have Mina Shirakawa facing Hikaru Shida. And I know it's Hikaru Shida. I'm doing the Tony Storm, verbiage. And Shida comes out with her new tag partner and Chris Statlander. Interesting. Mm-hmm. And this was a fun, interesting match. I actually have quite a bit of notes for this match here. It started out immediately with a bunch of catfighting.
Yep.
They sort of do a lockup, and then I think it's Mina pushing Sheeta back to the ropes. She starts grabbing Mia's hair. Mia starts grabbing Sheeta's hair. They start whipping each other by their hair, which I'm very much an old school wrestling fan, so I do get a big kick out of when they whip each other by their hair. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't really want to go back to the old days of women mostly cat fighting through their matches. I do very much like the newer style of women's wrestling, which is just women actually wrestling. But I do love to get to see a little bit of that cat fight era thrown in there, but I think it was a nice change up.
And I have to say, it doesn't make me cringe quite as much anymore when I see them getting pulled by their hair. When I first started, that was always like, oh my God, what are they doing?
And as many of you wrestling fans know, often wrestlers start pulling guys up from the mat by their hair. When I first started watching with Cordial here, she would cringe so hard at guys simply being pulled up from the mat by their hair to get them to stand up. And I just would get a whole kick out of that. It's so fun to watch somebody become a wrestling fan and watch how they react, never having experienced any of these cliches before.
Yeah.
So it's super fun. It's
I still do a lot of
always fun
with
watching the younger ones as well.
Yes.
And their reactions to things going on in the wrestling. I really feel like I need to take them back to the earlier days, and especially as I think I talked about in our previous podcast, the younger one gets very upset when rules are not being kept and referees aren't enforcing rules.
Yes.
I'd love to take them back to an era where that was very much not the case, and bring a little more of that suspension of disbelief to their minds. So there's a fun moment here where they do a square off after throwing each other around by their hair. Mina ends up dropping to her knees and doing that sort of tit-jiggling pose she does. Sheeta, not taking too kindly to this, throws some kicks, but Mina stealthily ducks them. She had a bit of her spider sense going on. And they start getting back into it. Throwing blows, and they start trading near falls. Sheeta would end up taking control after hitting a big running high knee. And Sheeta then starts throwing in a lot of strikes on Mina. She would take her to the apron for a minute. And like outside for just a moment, then bring her back in, throw her to the ropes, and a nice tilt-a-whirl backbreaker for a near fall. Then she'd slap on a camel clutch, but with Mina like shoved all the way down, belly first on the mat. She was not like in that sort of all fours pose, and she was really wrenching back on this camel clutch. It looked actually quite sick, and she would then sort of turn into a half straitjacket, pulling one of Mina's arms back over Mina's own neck. Eventually, Mina would get to the ropes here and then start firing back, but would eat a headbutt there. Sheeta would then throw Mina to the ropes. Mina would fly off the ropes and hit a head scissors on Sheeta. And then go to the apron and do a slingshot twisting senton. And then from there, Mina would really start focusing in on Sheeta's knee, something that she often does in her setup for her figure four finisher. And she would spend pretty much the rest of the match focusing on the knee there. And she would actually, right here, about this point in the match, go for a figure four that Sheeta would then block. Sheeta rolls to the outside. Mina follows her outside, starts attacking the knee again some more with a sort of a knee DDT. Sheeta ends up fighting back and then lifting Mina up in a fireman's carry on the outside and walking up the steps.
That was crazy.
Yeah, into the ring and then holding her in sort of a... there's a term for this and it is escaping me right now. It's what Trent Beretta does, where it's sort of the dead eye, but it's really low, where you have the arms, the legs sort of under your arms.
And I think even Excalibur couldn't remember.
Yeah, Excalibur couldn't call it. He just basically said that Mina got spiked on the apron. And then, sorry folks, I just lost my space in my notes here. From here, Sheeta would roll Mina back into the ring. Sheeta would head up to the top, hit a meteor for a near fall. She would then get hit that big Sheeta kick for another near fall. Mina fires back with a rolling. Mina would fight back with a rolling forearm here. Mina calls for more strikes from Sheeta. She's demanding her to come at her, and she would eat a bunch of strikes here. But Mina would take them in stride and fight back, then head up to the top rope, hit a missile drop kick, and then a sling blade from the top rope on Ishida. She would end up throwing on her figure four here. Finally, Shida would get to the ropes though, and Mina very heelishly not wanting to break the hold. The referee basically had to demand that he's going to DQ her. Shida would then at this point go for the kendo stick that's sort of sitting on the apron, which I don't know why the hell the kendo stick's anywhere near the apron.
I don't know.
Bad call on the ref here.
Was it there the whole time?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
And so, unless Stat put it there and I missed it. But Shida goes for the kendo. Mina would actually grab the kendo from her and then decide to try to use the kendo herself on Shida's own kendo against her. But lo and behold, Statlander would hop up on the apron, grab the kendo stick from Mina, which immediately received a response of me of, what the hell is she doing? I felt like the ref should have called DQ right there. This gave enough time for Shida to strike with a knee and then hit a Falcon Arrow for the 1-2-3 on Mina Shirakawa here. A very big win for Hikaru Shida, former three-time women's champion over Mina Shirakawa, who has lately been on a revenge tour to try to figure out what happened to Toni Storm, her love bomb partner. Yeah. From here, we would go to a video package for Okada and Takeshita at Double or Nothing,
which is on May 24th.
It's going to be for the international title.
Yep. I thought it was good.
What did you think? Yeah.
It was good. I liked it.
I thought it was very good, actually.
Yeah, they showed a lot of highlights of...
A lot of fun stuff.
Yes.
Of course, the Takeshita mockingly... Yes, go ahead.
I'm so sorry.
Yes. I won't take the heat for doing that accent. You can take the heat.
Oh my god, I laughed so hard when he did that.
It was
so
very
sarcastic. It was so great.
And up next here, folks, we'd have, I think there's actually a commercial break in the middle, but we don't get much of that with Triller TV. So up next, we'd have a match that was already announced that I was super excited for. We talked at the beginning of this podcast. Will Ospreay taking on the Don Callis family member, Mark Davis, Dunkzilla.
Yes,
dangerous, Mark Davis. Mark Davis got his dangerous on his tights, but somehow he's not been sucked into this Brody King swerve war over that name, which I find very annoying. Definitely dropping the ball there. Dunkzilla doesn't seem like he's dunking the ball. Seems like he's missing a dribble. But, boy, was this a super fun match. I really, really enjoyed it. I would call this probably the best match of the night, even though I will say the main event definitely gave it a run for its money.
Yeah.
Will went immediately for the hidden blade, but just ended up taking a shoulder block from Davis. Davis throws... Ospreay would end up sort of rolling out to the apron. Davis would knock him to the outside. Davis would end up throwing Ospreay all around the outside, and then slamming him all around the inside of the ring. He would go for a senton, misses. Ospreay rolls to the outside. Davis would follow after. Will would end up kicking the ring stairs into Davis's legs, and then run up the stairs and hit a Rana on Davis on the outside. Davis would end up back in the ring. Will Ospreay does a springboard elbow for a 1 count. Then
he went all the way across the ring.
Oh yeah,
that was so
he was
far.
Easily like 3 quarters across the ring.
Because I missed the springboard part. I literally thought he jumped off the ropes because he went so far.
Yeah, it's so hard trying to watch these matches while also taking notes and not missing anything, especially when you have somebody like Will Ospreay in there.
Yeah,
it was works such a fast pace. And from here, Will would actually go for the Stormbreaker. Doesn't get Davis up at all. Davis ends up blocking. Follows up with a kick to... I'm sorry. I think my notes are a little jumbled here. It was actually... He would fight back... I think... No, he... so I'm sorry here. So... The Stormbreaker would get blocked by Davis, then Will Ospreay would go for those kicks to the head, that sort of hunched over kicks to the head that he does. Mm-hmm. And Davis would end up taking those as stride and then chopping Will Ospreay literally across the ring. He would chop him, and Will Ospreay would do this back tumble salt into the corner, looking like he literally just got shot in the chest.
Yeah.
Davis tries to So they would end up fighting to the outside. Davis would try for they would fight a long, like the apron here,
Okay.
sort of going in between the guardrail and I'm sorry, not the apron, in between the guardrail and the ramp. And
Okay.
they would fight towards sort of the top of the ramp, but on the floor, where Davis would then go for a power bomb from the floor onto the ramp, which honestly makes no sense to me because first of all, the ramp has more give than the floor. And
Okay.
also, the ramp is less of a fall when you're standing on the floor.
Right. That makes
So
sense.
you think he'd just powerbomb to the floor. It
Yeah.
would be easier. He wouldn't have had to, like, do that lift up and turn him. But I don't know. I'm not doing the psychology of this match. Ospreay would fight out of that powerbomb, end up on the ramp, and then run from the ramp and do a diving cannonball off the ramp onto Davis on the floor. They would end up fighting back into the ring. Davis would hit a... They would actually fight back to the ring, then immediately outside where Davis would hit a body slam and then a senton on the outside, which looked brutal.
Oh my gosh, that looked like it hurt.
It was
That's a big dude to receive a senton
it is.
from.
Especially when it's the floor underneath of you.
Yes,
You're getting
yes.
no give below
Right.
you. So from here we would start getting the fuck Don Callis and
Okay,
fuck Ice
these two.
Chance,
Yep.
which I personally love.
And then right after that, we had Callis actually coming over from commentary to yell at Ospreay. I don't remember what he said, but he was like yelling in his face.
Oh, was that at this point?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yep. And Davis would end up pulling Will Ospreay back into the ring, throwing on an abdominal stretch, and Gorilla Monsoon would not be proud of this form here. He did not tuck the toe behind the leg. If you don't understand this, folks, I implore you to go back. Here's a good example. Watch the opening match of SummerSlam 1988. Gorilla Monsoon goes all into it during that match about how when you apply a abdominal stretch, that left leg needs to tuck your toe behind that guy's left leg, behind his calf, to really sink it in and make it a move that you can't get out of. But nonetheless, Will Ospreay did not get out of this. Davis actually gave up on it and then started clobbering Will a bit before throwing him into a front chancery. Will would eventually start fighting back here. He would hit a big running handspring, that like flip kick. It's sort of like a flipping, twisting Pele kick. Then he'd head up to the top rope and hit a big forearm to the back of the head of Davis. Davis would fire back with a monster clothesline. And I'm missing it here. So Will Ospreay would end up getting straddled on the top rope here, and then eating a monster clothesline from Davis. Will wouldn't take long to go back on offense though, and Davis would put the kibosh on that, hitting a huge backdrop. Davis would actually go for the backdrop driver here. That gets blocked. We get an Os cutter that gets blocked into a huge backdrop driver.
Okay.
And then Davis picks him up and hits another backdrop driver. And then Will makes his way out onto the apron where Davis would grab him again and backdrop driver him from the apron back into the ring for, surprisingly enough, only a 2 count after 3 backdrop drivers. Davis would end up hitting Insiguri. Will fires back. He'd throw Will into the ropes. He'd send Will into the ropes. Will would fire back with a head blade out of nowhere. But this isn't enough to keep Davis down. Davis would end up hitting Will with a huge clothesline, turning him inside out. Davis goes and hits a pendulum pile driver. But Will is too close to the ropes. He would end up getting a foot for the ropes, which just causes Don Callis to go apoplectic here. He's losing his mind.
Was that the one he did on the apron?
Oh, no, you're spoiling it here.
Sorry.
No, this is inside the ring, so you get his foot on the ropes here. Davis would end up taking Will out to the apron and then hitting a pendulum pile driver on the apron. This was so dangerous.
So bad.
This was so dangerous looking.
That was scary.
Like a guy who just had neck surgery. And I actually was saying earlier in this match that Will was wrestling a very smart match here. He was not taking a lot of those big high impact on his shoulders and neck moves. Mm-hmm. And then he gets hit with 3 backdrop drivers. And then a pendulum pile driver and then a pendulum pile driver on the apron. So just silly. If you're Will Ospreay, I know you want to give your all to this business. Well, you're not going to give your all for too long if you keep doing that
Right?
nonsense.
You're gonna paralyze yourself, man.
I sort of hated what happened next year. So Davis goes outside to try to drag Will Ospreay back into the ring, and Paul Turner stops him. Paul Turner gets down, says, "Get back in the damn ring." The doc comes over, starts checking on
Because
Will.
Ospreay is holding his neck and he is wincing really bad.
And I mean, Paul Turner isn't even counting. I mean, I'm sorry. If Will isn't able to continue, he's not able to continue. He shouldn't get a reprieve. And at the very least, Paul Turner should be counting. But no, we're not getting any of that. We get the doc check. Doc says it's okay. Or wait, the doc doesn't say it's okay.
No.
And we don't get a count. And instead, we get this match ending with a ref stoppage, which, as far as I'm concerned, that's considered a technical submission. And shockingly enough, Mark Davis beats Will Ospreay, and clean nonetheless.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't cheat. And if anything, Will cheated. He kicked the stairs into Davis's legs earlier on in the bout.
Yep.
Davis won this fair and square and in shocking fashion. But unfortunately for Will Ospreay, this was not enough for Mark Davis, who would go outside, drag Will Ospreay back into the ring. Then
By
he lifts
his
him,
neck.
Yeah, lifts him up for like sort of in choking.
Yes.
Sort of a stranglehold maneuver.
He pulled him in when he pulled him into the ring. He pulled him up over the top rope, right?
I do not remember exactly.
Okay.
I will trust you there.
Okay.
Davis then lifts Will up for the pendulum pile driver, and Marina Shafir shows up on the apron, which was super weird.
Yeah.
I kept going, what is she doing there? I would expect somebody like Alex Windsor. But she's there looking at Davis. Davis is looking at her, holding Will up for that pile driver, not doing it yet. And then coming from behind Davis, we have John Moxley, who I thought was going to attack Davis.
Yeah.
But instead, he just stood there. Davis turns around, sees Moxley. We get the rest of the Death Riders showing up.
Yep.
And Davis, I guess, taking a cue from the situation, looking around at who's surrounding him, maybe taking a cue from Don Callis at ringside, puts Will down.
Yep. And leaves the ring.
And heads out. Yeah, heads out of the ring. And then we get the Death Riders carrying Will out of the arena.
See,
I love how no security stops any of this.
Right?
They just take him in. So now I'm really wondering.
Him to the back. Like, that's so weird.
Yeah.
What do you think that's about?
I don't know. It's kidnapping is what it is. But I'm not sure if they're gonna torture him or if they're gonna try to get him to their side.
Oh,
and so now I'm kind of curious. Are we gonna get a crazy ass Will Ospreay
I don't know.
turn to the dark side?
I don't foresee him being a good heel. I don't know. He's just.
I think he's a great heel. I've seen him as a good heel.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I think he's a great heel.
Okay.
And I don't know. It's interesting story coming out of this match here on Dynamite.
Yeah.
So from here, folks, we're gonna head back to the women's division. We're gonna go to the back with Renee Young with Alex Windsor. Mm-hmm. She starts talking about the Triangle of Death and how she wants a piece of them. And then we get Persephone showing up, and it looks like we're going to get Persephone teaming up with Alex Windsor to take on the Triangle of Madness, or at least two members of that team. And we will learn a bit more about that at the end of our show here as we cover what's heading towards us at this Saturday's Collision. So, they had announced that we're going to get the return of Samoa Joe here. I was not sure that this was going to be an return. Actually, the impression I got was he was going to talk on the mic. But no, we would actually get Samoa Joe making a big return to the ring from injury. The last time we saw him was at World's End when he lost the AEW World Championship to in that 4-way to MJF. Mm-hmm. And so he would be facing a local talent in Cody Chun, Chhun.
Okay.
And this is what you would expect, a super fast match. Cody tries to get some hits in here, but doesn't get much done against Samoa Joe in the end. It's a muscle buster, putting him down for a quick win for Samoa Joe. And as Samoa Joe actually heads to the back, he gets greeted by Hook wearing a Wu-Tang Clan shirt. That dude isn't gangster enough to wear a fucking Wu-Tang Clan shirt, so he needs to put that shit away. But So interesting to see what is the future here of the Ops, as it has been pointed out in recent days that Hulk is sort of the de facto leader. So is he going to have
Yeah.
to step back aside for Samoa Joe? Are we going
I
to get
don't
some
know.
conflict here with
Oh,
him stepping
maybe.
aside?
Dude,
I
I'd love to
don't
see
know. And
Samoa
also,
Joe
are
beat the
we
shit out of
ever
him.
going to get to see Taz on commentary again? Only time will tell, folks.
Yeah.
So, we then do a nice video package here for Darby Allin, talking about just showing a whole ton of clips of everything he's done, all his stuff with Sting, just stuff early on in the early years of AEW. We actually get a few clips of him climbing Mount Everest, which I thought was pretty cool. They show the clip of him certainly at the top holding the
Yep. The
AEW flag,
AEW
which I think
flag.
it's
That's so
super cool.
cool.
I think it's super cool. No WWE wrestler's done that. JBL, when he climbed to the top, he didn't say, "I love WWE so much, I'm going to wave their fucking flag."
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that says something for how some of these wrestlers really feel about this AEW promotion. And so I think we go for commercial there, and then we come back with Renee Young talking to Jericho outside of a locker room. And then we'd have the Hurt Syndicate leaving that locker room. And MVP stops and says to Renee, "It's not personal, it's just business." So it looks like that is who he has enlisted to take on the demand coming up on Collision here. I'm
Okay.
excited for that.
That's interesting.
So then we'd have Darby Allin coming out to the ring to do. We had heard leading into the show that Darby Allin would talk to the crowd. We get to hear from him. Before he could talk, he actually lays his belt down on the mat, kneels down in front of it. We get a ton of "You Deserve a Chance." I'm not a fan of these chants.
Me
I
either.
think they're super out of place and super cringe. I would just much prefer Darby Allin chants. But instead, that's what we get, folks. So he says that this took forever. This took everything getting to the belt. He talks about having his first match in Portland.
Yep.
He says this whole thing can all end in a matter of minutes. He talks about how he thinks about his fiancée that he met on the Skull Bus, which I think that probably got a lot of the women going, "Aw."
I said all.
Yeah, there we go, folks. He says he thinks about the Sherpas and all of you that helped him do this. Then we have MJF's music. MJF. Well, actually, I don't think we had his music. MJF's come out. No, 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 no. Yes, I'm being annoying because that's how annoying it is when he does it.
I know.
He says, "You don't deserve shit." He says, "You're a little pipsqueak. Give me my belt back." He says, "Give me my rematch." Darby says, "No." He says, "I'm not giving you a rematch unless you put something on the line." He says, "Every week I'm going to put my body on the line." And he says that there's other people in the locker rooms that are more deserving of this title as well. And that's where we get Tommaso Ciampa's music hitting. Tommaso starts walking down the ring. MJF sort of like tries to stop him, and he ends up kissing MJF on the cheek on the ramp. Super weird.
It's super weird.
I thought for sure after he kissed MJF and he kept walking down the ramp that MJF was going to charge down the ramp and down from behind and sort of beat him up and throw him in the ring, sort of helping Darby get an easier win. That did not happen. I wonder if that was maybe an idea leading into this,
Maybe.
and then it sort of got shot down because it'd make Darby look weaker. I'm not
maybe.
sure. And this match, folks, Tommaso Ciampa, Darby, as wild as you would expect it to be.
It was great.
Oh my god, it was absolutely insane. Tommaso starts immediately beating Darby in the corner, laying in chops and punches. Darby fights back with a drop kick, then goes immediately. We're like 30 seconds, not even 30 seconds into the match. She goes for the coffin drop. Tommaso wisely rolls to the outside, but ends up eating a coffin drop on the outside. Luckily for Tommaso, you can't get pinned on the outside.
Right.
So, Tommaso ends up making his way back in with Darby kind of chasing after him, and he would go for that Widow's Peak on Darby. Darby would fight off, and Ciampa would end up kicking Darby backwards into the commentary table. He looked like he hit real hard. From there, Darby would get thrown into the guardrail. He would get sort of laid across the guardrail and basically get beat up a whole bunch on the outside with Tommaso. They'd make it back into the ring, but not for long because then they're right back to the outside. Tommaso does, might be the first time I've ever seen this. He catapults Darby up into the steel truss bar along the apron of the ring.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty vicious looking. And we would see later on Darby sort of moving his jaw around like he
Yeah.
really took that hard on the jaw, making sure, his jaw was still intact. Darby does a crazy. They would end up fighting around the ringside a bit more, and then Ciampa would actually go for a big boot with Darby leaning against the guardrail. Darby would move, and Ciampa would crotch himself on the guardrail. Darby would hop back into the ring, head up to the top rope, do a crazy diving crossbody off the top rope to the outside, catching Ciampa, causing him to fly over the guardrail into the timekeeper's area through the timekeeper's table. Blah blah blah. So I'm getting so excited for this. This was a wild and crazy match. Darby would make it back into the ring and actually allow, I believe it was Aubrey during this match, allow Aubrey to start a count. I was kind of surprised at this. Darby's usually a guy who breaks counts.
Right.
But, and this is the point where he starts really moving his jaw around, making sure that it feels like it's still intact, has it get knocked out of socket or broken. And then we see Tomasso start trying to make his way back into the ring, and Tomasso is bleeding heavily from his head. His face is essentially covered in blood now. He would eventually get back up to his feet, but not make it back into the ring, as Darby would hit a suicida, sending Tomasso flying into the commentary table. That was a vicious hit as well.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, you could hear that thump echo throughout the arena. Darby would end up hitting, would go for the coffin drop on Tomasso. He would get Tomasso back in the ring, then go for the coffin drop. Tomasso would catch him, and I don't really understand how that works. He catches him basically in his crotch and midsection, but somehow isn't hurt by that. And nonetheless, he puts him in a sleeper. Darby is able to make it to the ropes. Darby would go for a scrub. Oh, I think my notes. I think I've ruined my notes here, folks. So this is not what happened. So Darby would hit the suicida, sending Tomasso into the commentary table. They would end up back into the ring. Darby would head up to the top rope for a coffin drop, but Tomasso would actually grab the ref and I believe it was Bryce Rensburg.
I was going to say, I thought it was Bryce, but
and,
I wasn't 100% sure, so I didn't want to
Tomasso would then slam into the top rope, crotching Darby on the top rope. Darby would go for Darby would end up fighting back and going for a scorpion drop onto Tomasso, and they're really close to the corner with Tomasso grabbing a hold of the turnbuckle. And as he goes down for the Scorpion Death Drop, he would rip the turnbuckle pad off, exposing that metal stud underneath. So from here, Darby would go up again for another coffin drop, this time onto Tomasso on the apron, but Tomasso is able to hop up and stop him again, crouching him sort of once again on the top rope. And then from here, we have probably the craziest spot of the entire match.
Yes, I was waiting for you
to
get to that.
Tomasso gets Darby up into an air raid position on the ropes. But they are not in the ropes. They're not inside the ring on the ropes. They are sort of on the outside edge along like the sort of turnbuckle like bar that goes back to the ring post.
Yes.
And Tomasso would hit a air raid crash onto Darby on the floor.
That looks so wicked. Honestly, the way that Tomasso like jumped up, I thought he broke his hip.
Oh, Tomasso, as soon as Tomasso hit, he immediately started grabbing his right butt cheek and like basically flailing around on the ground like a fish.
Yes.
Bryce is asking him repeatedly, "Are you done? Are you okay?"
Because yes, I'm saying this like they can see this, but he even like
called him towards him,
Bryce to him. So I
really
thought that he hurt himself and was gonna like and was telling.
He hurt himself. How bad he hurt himself, I guess time will tell.
I just mean like I thought maybe he like really
had
broke,
done.
like he actually broke.
Well, I think he probably thought he broke something, and he very well might have.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't be sure he has, and we haven't heard any updates yet. Like I said, we're only an hour and, 20
minutes past the...
Yeah, not even. And so, from here, Darby would literally lay on the ground, face down, on the outside, looking completely dead. Tommaso would end up literally dragging
Yep.
Darby back into the ring, covers him. Well, I actually thought it was funny because there's a point here when they were showing the outside when he was flying around like a fish, where Bryce is like, "Are you done? Are you done? Tell me if you're done. I'll call it right now." And Ciampa screams, "No!" And so Tommaso would, like we said, drag Darby back into the ring. He would go for the cover, but Darby gets his leg on the rope, so stopping the pinfall. Tommaso would then start chopping Darby. Darby's like on his knees now. He's chopping him. Darby would actually start to get chopped and then lean forward, and Tommaso would use his boot to kind of lift the chin back up of Darby before chopping him again. Darby is not taking this lying down. He would get up and start chopping back. We get a bit of a chop fest in the middle of the ring, and then they would both run to the ropes and go for cross bodies and end up clanking heads together, and we would get a double countdown here. They would end up making the count and get into a forearm battle now. Tommaso would end up pretty much winning that and then starts chopping down Darby in the corner. Then Tommaso catapults Darby. Darby lands on he would try to catapult him into that corner that has the exposed turnbuckle ring, and Darby would end up jumping and landing on the middle rope and then doing a double stomp onto Tommaso, which looked awesome. They would keep fighting back and forth. Tommaso would end up getting Darby up, throwing him to the ropes, and getting a backdrop like flip where Darby flipped like completely over and landed on his face. It was really wild looking.
Yeah.
And then he would hit the running knee, but not with the pad down. This Darby immediately like sort of does that Hulk back up from that, ends up throwing Tommaso into the corner. Darby fires up and charges into the corner, but am I missing my notes again? Sorry, I'm just reading ahead, folks, to make sure I haven't screwed this up. Okay, yeah, and he would charge at Tommaso in the corner, but Tommaso would move, and he would end up getting caught with I am screwing up my notes here. So Darby would fire back. He would head to the top rope. Sorry, folks. He would go for the coffin drop off the top and get caught. This is where he would get caught that I started talking about earlier as I was scrolling this whole. The podcast is going so well till now. Now I'm messing it all up. This match was so chaotic. Darby would jump off top rope for the coffin drop, get caught in the legs, and sort of get grabbed by Tommaso, who's on the mat. He would hook him into a sleeper with the sort of body scissors there with his legs, and Darby would end up making it to he would end up rolling over. After being held there for a moment in the sleeper, he would roll over in that classic, think of Bret Hart and Roddy Piper ending of their WrestleMania 8 match. He would roll over and get a 2 count on Tommaso. And Tommaso would end up hitting... So now we're back to where I was getting confused before. So Darby, Tommaso ends up in the corner. Darby charges at him, sort of throwing his back at him like he likes to do. But Tommaso jumps out of the corner. Darby ends up nailing the corner with that exposed turnbuckle, hitting him right in the back of the head. Drop down to the mat. Tommaso would drop his knee pad, hit the running knee, and gets a 1, 2, and kick out here. Shockingly enough, after the running knee and the exposed turnbuckle shot, Darby's able to kick out.
Yeah, me too.
He would then get Darby back up, hit the Project Ciampa, so that powerbomb into his knees, and then hit another running knee, still once again only getting a 2 count. Tommaso would then, shockingly enough, go for a Scorpion Deathlock on Darby, who would end up reversing it into his own Scorpion Deathlock. He would hold Ciampa there for a while. Ciampa would end up crawling to the ropes. He's about to grab the ropes, but Darby pulls him back to the center of the ring. This is where he actually started to sort of lose his grip on the Scorpion Deathlock. He ends up on like his knees, Darby does, and then keeps trying to fight back up and is really struggling to do it. So I guess we see a flaw in Darby Allin's game here. Tomasso then turns and tries to get to the ropes again, but once again gets pulled back to the ropes. This ends up being too much for Tomasso Ciampa. Shockingly enough, submits to Darby Allin in the Scorpion Deathlock. So there you go, folks. Darby Allin retaining the AEW World Championship here in our main event to Dynamite. And I thought this was quite a wild and fun match.
Yes.
Darby trying to kill himself, as you would always expect from this fucking maniac. What did you think of it?
I liked it. I thought it was fun. There was a lot of chaos, a lot of high flying. I mean, you expect that from Darby. I have to say, although Darby did a lot tonight, I think this is probably one of the first matches I've seen where he hasn't done a ridiculously crazy spot.
Yeah, the match didn't. I mean, I'd say the crossbody block was pretty wild, and him taking the air raid crash to the floor was completely insane.
Yes.
Probably one of the worst falls he's ever taken.
Yeah,
I don't know, but I think I agree. This was actually a lot more centered around not being super wild. I mean, like I said, there was a catapult into the ring truss. There was the crossbody from the top rope to Ciampa through the table. There was the air raid crash. But all in all, I think a more wrestling-based match from Darby, which I like, honestly. Which is what we saw a little bit more of between him and Andrade, even though I think that got even a little more wild.
Yeah.
At Dynasty. So, if Darby Allin can wrestle, I think Darby Allin should show that he can wrestle more.
Yep,
I understand his philosophy of people don't come to see an Darby Allin match to see Darby just wrestle, but I'm interested to see. Hey, we've seen you do all the crazy shit. Yeah. First of all, I watched you try to jump from a ladder in a ring onto Jeff Hardy and then fall through like 14 chairs. That was disgusting. Then I saw you do it through a plate glass. I've seen you do coffin drops on coffins. I saw you flip a car. Like, I'm ready to see Darby Allin wrestle. You know?
I agree.
So from here we have Brody King coming out. Brody King, I think we did mention that he actually got on the mic earlier in the night and said that he was interested in Darby's match tonight against Ciampa. He'd be watching that closely. And so he comes out and he said he wasn't lying about wanting to watch his match. He said that he respects Darby Allin and he basically says he wants a shot at the title next week. And Darby Allin did not say yes, did not say no. He simply put his hand out and shook Brody King's hand. So then we immediately got announced to the graphic right at the end of the screen, which I think is just a little too much to have the graphic immediately there. Literally, when we were watching this with a 12-year-old the other day, they had a graphic after. I don't remember what match was announced. Oh, no, it was Darby winning the title, and they immediately had the Darby winning the title graphic on the screen. And our 12-year-old had to immediately say, oh, I guess they do that for both guys.
Like they do for the NFL.
Yeah, just in case. Yep. Which is funny because I think this is probably something I've said to him in the past when they have done this. To try to hinge back into that suspension of disbelief. So we have, as we talked about from the show, Dynamite of next week. We have 2 matches set thus far for the world title. Like we just said, we're going to have Brody King challenging Darby Allin. And then also for the TNT title, we're going to have Kevin Knight defending his title, his TNT title, against MJF. So, a chance for MJF to win a title he's not won before. So far in AEW, MJF has only won 2 titles. The world title twice, and the international title, which I also believe was twice, which he, of course, would name leading into All In London of 2024. He would name it the American title, which I thought was hilarious. And so let's talk a little bit more about what we have coming up a lot sooner, which is Collision this Saturday. It's normal time slot. They're calling it Playoff Palooza.
Yes.
And we're going to...
probably because of hockey. They're in the playoffs for hockey right now.
Okay. We actually just saw a nice hockey
match.
Did. Not the NHL, folks,
but
this past Sunday.
Minor leagues.
Right before WrestleMania, we went and saw a Pennsylvania
Hershey
Bears
Bears
game.
It
So
is a
Hershey,
Pennsylvania
Pennsylvania. And they face the Americans, which I couldn't help but make a joke all night about. These damn Americans. These Americans keep ruining everything. And fun on our side, as we were, of course, rooting for the Hershey Bears.
Yes.
It's closer to where we live. And the Bears did win that.
They
So
did.
they won in overtime. Yes.
Like a minute into overtime.
Yes,
It was nice. They did not
quite
start
quite
off
fun
playing
night.
very well.
We had a suite that was brought to us by your employer, which was very nice of them.
Yes.
We had drinks and food paid for, so a lot of fun.
Yeah.
A lot of fun talking to all your coworkers and on. Just a fun night, and then we got to end that night with WrestleMania, which we haven't talked about on this podcast. I'm sorry, folks. We also didn't get to talk too much. Maybe we should take a moment to talk a little bit before we even get to Collision about some of the stuff we've watched since we last were on here in the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So we watched 2 nights of WrestleMania. The big news coming out of Sunday being Roman Reigns defeating CM Punk for the world title. Cody Rhodes ends up retaining his title against Randy Orton. Very little involvement with Pat McAfee, which I was super excited about. I know some fans sort of were annoyed by that because they built all this stuff up with McAfee and he was pretty much a non-entity in this match. He did at one point come out in a referee's shirt after the referee got knocked out to try to count the pin on Cody, but that did not work out. He ends up eating RKO from Randy. So Randy finding an interesting way to fire McCaffrey from his duties of the night. We also had all 3 women's titles that were involved in the WrestleMania weekends changing.
Yep.
We had the world title changing hands with Liv Morgan being Stephanie Vaquer. We had Jade Cargill losing the women's title to Rhea Ripley on Sunday, and then also opening our the sort of pay-per-view portion of WrestleMania on Saturday. We had Paige Saraya returning to WWE to team with Brie to take the place of Nikki Bella in that big 4-way match, beating Alexa Bliss, Charlotte Flair, Bayley. My God, who was Bayley's partner?
I don't know.
Sorry, folks. And then, of course, the champions of Lash Legend and Nia Jax. My God, who the heck was she teaming with?
I don't know.
Well, so there's been so much wrestling we've watched this week, folks.
Yes.
Then, of course, Sunday we had also on Saturday we had Gunther defeating Seth Rollins, and it looked like, well, at least it was rumored that the next feud we're going to get is Gunther and Roman. But after what happened on Monday night, it seems that's not so much the case.
Okay.
Then we also had on Sunday night Oba Femi and Brock Lesnar opening the show. Oba Femi in quick fashion dispatching of Brock Lesnar, hitting him with his power bomb and getting the 1, 2, 3. I was kind of surprised. I think it was actually a great way to do that match. Brock Lesnar is definitely looking old. He may still look jacked, but he's definitely looking old, and he's definitely past his prime. And I think it is definitely time to really put the onus on these younger talents. And they did that a bit on Sunday. Trick Williams winning the United States title from Sami Zayn. And like I said, Oba Femi winning. Penta retaining his Intercontinental title in a match that involved, Rey Mysterio, a veteran who could have taken the title. So, it's smart on them to push younger talents. But then again, of course, we have Roman Reigns, CM Punk in the main event of that show. And Roman Reigns, well, the younger talent, certainly not the future talent, taking the title. So, and then on Monday Night Raw, we actually had him being confronted by Jacob Fatu, and it's looking like we're going to get a feud between him and Jacob Fatu going forward. We also had some calls from NXT on Monday. We had Ethan Page, Sol Ruka. We had the return of the Street Profits. And it's also, word is going that we're going to get Joe Hendry moving up into the roster too, and him getting dispatched by Keanu Carver on NXT the next night, just yesterday, which also had Sol Ruka going through a table, one table, and then having her head clocked by the second table.
Jeez. By
Zarya in a last woman standing match. And so, some interesting news going on there in WWE, but also we got to watch I think last night we got to watch Stardom's American Dream show, which was quite excellent. Again, if you're a fan, like we said with the Mark Hitchcock Memorial. If you're a fan of AEW, these are definitely two shows to watch: the Mark Hitchcock Memorial and the Stardom American Dream show, which was absolutely excellent. In the main event, we had the Babes of Wrath, Willow Nightingale, our TBS champion, and Harley Cameron teaming up with Alex Windsor, who is the NJPW.
No, Chris Statlander.
I'm sorry, it was Chris
Alex
Statlander.
was earlier.
We did have Alex earlier.
Yes.
Defending her strong title.
Yes.
And so a lot of fun action in that show. I really enjoyed the show. How did you feel about the Stardom American Dream show?
I really liked it. There's lots of as Stardom and New Japan tend to do. These shows have a lot of tag team and like triple threats, or not triple threats, tag team and trios.
Yes.
So I very much enjoyed it. I thought the matches were great. They weren't super long. I don't know if they were supposed to be on the shorter side, because they did kept saying that like 5 minutes passed, 10 minutes have passed. I have to say, I think that my favorite match of the show was Athena's.
Okay. And I think that was Athena. Was Athena defending her title in that match?
No, it was a non-title match.
Okay.
She went up against the black. Oh, she had a specific name, and I can't remember what it is offhand. We'll have to look that up. But
I'm on it. I'm looking it up right now.
She's only a 19-year-old, fairly new wrestler.
And Stardom is the home of all the young wrestlers. I mean, you talk about the youngest wrestlers in this industry. So many of them are there. I mean, they have wrestlers that are well under the age of 18. It's kind of shocking.
Yes.
So, yeah, it looks like it was Rena. Yes,
okay.
It was her. And she ended up defeating Rena in, like you said, a non-title match.
Yes.
We also had, like we said, Alex Windsor, who was facing Saya Aida for the Women's Strong, the NJPW Strong Women's Championship. And she would end up defeating Saya Aida as well. Then, like we said in the main event, we had Chris Statlander, Willow Nightingale, and Holly Cameron taking on Neo Genesis, Azumi, Starlight Kid, and Masahiro. We also had the Natsupoi and Aya Sakura taking on Brittany Brooks and Saki. I've not really seen much of Brittany Brooks, but I thought she looked great.
She did look great, and I think that's because they said that this was Brittany Brooks' debut.
Oh, okay.
So
fun.
Yeah.
Stardom coming stateside, and we get some debuts.
Yeah.
We also had one other match on that card,
tag team,
which was a trios match. Yeah, we had Mayuka, Mina Shirakawa, as all AEW fans would know, and Hanako taking on. They would end up defeating Hazuka Miyavita Loka, which is Hazuki and Miyavita Loka, which is the team of Suzu Suzuki and Rina Yamashita. Rina Yamashita, known to deathmatch fans, very wild in her deathmatch. Held the GCW, I think they call it the Deathmatch Championship, if I'm getting that right. I might be getting the name wrong there. We don't get a lot of chance to watch too much GCW. And I unfortunately did not get a chance to watch a GCW event I wanted to watch. But there's still time this week, so I might try to check that out tomorrow. I did watch the opening of the Death Vegas Invitational, which involved Zack Sabre Jr. I know that you're a big fan of Zack Sabre Jr.
Yes, I am. So I will have to check that match out.
Yeah, I mean, he did a hard-fought bout. Sorry, folks. I'm actually stalling for time here as I try to look up the name of his opponent, which I know his last name was Abe, and I'm not so familiar with his opponent. I do not get a lot of chance to watch more of the deathmatch-oriented pro wrestling. A lot of it I'm not the biggest fan of, to be honest.
I don't like it.
But some fun shows this week. We still have not gotten a chance to get around to the Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling Show, but I am definitely going to do that tomorrow. So now let's get on before we end our podcast here and talk a little bit about Collision coming up Saturday, 8 p.m. We're going to have a whole ton of fun matches announced already, which I love about AEW, how they like to stack the cards and let us all know what we're in store for.
Yes.
We're going to get an AEW national title match with Jack Perry, the champion, defending against Oklahoma.
That'll be
We're
fun.
also going to get in 8-man action the Young Bucks, Matt, Nick Jackson, and I'm sorry, that's actually going to be 10-man action. It's going to be the Young Bucks, Matt, Nick Jackson, and the Rascals, Myron Reed, Zachary Wentz, and Desmond Xavier versus the Dogs, Dave Finley and Clark O'Connors, and the Death Riders, Daniel Garcia, Willer Yuta, and Claudio Castagnoli.
Okay.
We also have a Chris Statlander in action. We do not yet know who she is going to face. Then we're also going to get, as we spoke about earlier, Chris Jericho and the Hurt Syndicate of Shelton Benjamin, Bobby Lashley, taking on the Demands, Ricochet, Toa Leona, and Bishop Khan. Also, we're getting in women's tag action, Thekla and Sky Blow of the Triangle of Madness, taking on Persephone and Alex Windsor. I'm super excited about that.
That's going to be good.
And then finally, for the trios titles, we're going to get the champions, the conglomeration, Kyle O'Reilly, Roderick Strong, and Orange Cassidy, defending against Don Callis families, Andrade El Idolo, Lance Archer, and Hechizero. That is definitely going to be fast paced.
Yes.
We are going to struggle to keep notes in that.
Well,
Promise you, folks, we will do our best.
I feel like it's going to be that match and the 10-man. I definitely will struggle with the 10-man.
Yeah. Again, a super fast pace with the Bucks, the Rascals. Yeah. I think the Dogs might try to do their best to slow that down, though, if they're being smart. So, all kinds of action coming up on Collision. I implore everyone to check out, like I said earlier, our new segment, the WrestleCord News Break. I'm going to try to bring to you daily, which is actually a video news break, so we actually get to show our faces here.
Not our faces, it's just you.
Yeah, Cordial will not be showing her face. We might have to get you a mask and then start doing these podcasts as a video. You could keep the mystery alive as to who Cordial is. And so I implore you all to check that out on youtube.com/WrestleCord. You can always search WrestleCord on YouTube, WrestleCord News Breaks. And like I said, I'm going to try to bring you that daily, and that is going to be a short video segment, less than 15 minutes, talking about all the news in pro wrestling, not just AEW, but WWE, TNA, everywhere you can think of, plus MMA with the UFC and other such events going on. Obviously, we have that event coming up soon enough with Ronda Rousey. Mm-hmm. And this sponsored by like the Jake Paul syndicate of assholes. So, but I mean, I'm excited to see something to be competition for UFC, as they definitely are growing a very bad reputation. This whole TKO company is just sinking fan viewership as fast as they can, fan loyalty rather. So, thank you, folks, so much for listening to this edition. I think we're on number 14.
Yeah, I think this is number 14.
The WrestleCord podcast, and we will see you again, hopefully, this Saturday.
Yes.
I think. All right. Thank you, folks, and have a great rest of your evening.